All right, settle in, everyone, because we are diving deep into some really fascinating market action today.
Definitely.
We're talking about Bitcoin. And the news, well, it's pretty much buzzing everywhere.
Hard to miss it.
Exactly. Our sources are all pointing to this incredible headline. Bitcoin is edging close to a new all-time high around $122,000.
Wow. $122,000.
Yeah, that's not just a number, is it? It feels like a really significant moment in the digital asset space.
Absolutely. It's a major milestone.
So our mission today is to cut through some of the noise, unpack what's really fueling this remarkable surge.
Get to the bottom of it.
Right. What does it signify for the broader financial landscape? And crucially, what implications does it hold for you, whether you're deep in this stuff, just curious, or trying to stay informed? Okay, let's unpack this. This isn't just about hitting a price target. It feels more like a testament to shifting sentiment, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. At that $122,000 mark, it's more than just a psychological barrier. It's a really powerful indicator of a profound shift in how the market feels.
Right.
Reaching for a new all-time high like this, especially one this high, suggests, well, robust and growing confidence. And not just from one corner, but across a pretty diverse set of investors.
Of not just the usual suspects.
Exactly. It feels like it's moving beyond just speculation now. It signals a more widespread belief in Bitcoin's evolving role, within the whole global financial system. And when an asset like Bitcoin gets near this kind of peak, it often catalyzes more interest, right? It draws in more capital, reinforces that upward trend.
Oh.
It creates this compelling feedback loop.
Okay.
It suggests the market isn't just reacting to, say, short-term news flashes, but maybe actively repositioning Bitcoin for longer-term growth.
Okay, so we're looking at something more structural, maybe, not just a fleeting spike.
I think so.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. What specific forces are actually converging to create this renewed investor interest, this momentum that's making Bitcoin such an outperformer right now? What's really underpinning it all?
Yeah, good question. This surge is, well, it's undeniably showing strong positive sentiment. It's positioning Bitcoin as a significant outperformer.
More than just keeping up.
Oh, yeah. It's actively setting the pace against many traditional assets and even other digital ones. And like you hinted, this isn't just, individual retail investors hoping for a quick win. We're seeing deeper, more foundational capital commitments. The real core of this momentum, as our sources are highlighting, seems to stem from two main drivers. And they're fundamentally altering Bitcoin's market dynamics and, importantly, its perception.
Okay, two key drivers. And you mentioned foundational capital, not just speculative retail. That feels important.
Critical.
Now, our intel points to the first one as institutional adoption. We've heard this phrase for years, haven't we?
We have indeed.
But what specific mechanisms, what's different now that's pushing this particular surge? Is it certain products, specific players, or something else making this wave feel so impactful?
That's a great question because you're right. Institutional adoption isn't just one thing. It's evolved quite significantly, actually.
How so?
Well, historically, it might have been more about, say, high net worth individuals, maybe some adventurous hedge funds dipping their toes in.
The early adopters.
Exactly. What we seem to be witnessing now is broader, it's more structured, and often it's a regulated entry of major financial institutions.
Unregulated, okay.
Think about the recent proliferation and, frankly, success of spot Bitcoin ETFs in major markets.
Right, those have been big news.
They're huge because these aren't just new products. They are effectively bridges. They connect the traditional financial infrastructure directly to Bitcoin.
Okay, making it easier to cross over.
Precisely. These ETFs allow large players, think pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, even corporate treasuries, to gain exposure to Bitcoin without, directly holding the asset themselves. They get to sidestep the complex custody issues, the regulatory gray areas that, frankly, scared many of them off before. It dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for these vast pools of capital.
Vast is the word.
Absolutely. I mean, when a major public pension fund decides to allocate even a tiny percentage, like maybe 1% of its multi-billion-dollar portfolio into a Bitcoin ETF, the sheer volume of capital flowing in is immense.
Yeah, the scale is hard to comprehend.
And it's not just about the money either. It's about validation, institutional validation.
The credibility factor.
Exactly. Their participation, which usually comes after rigorous due diligence, compliance checks, all that stuff, It signals to the broader, maybe more conservative investment community that Bitcoin is maturing,
Yeah.
that it's becoming a legitimate investable asset class, not just some fringe experiment.
Right. It de-risks it in their eyes.
It fundamentally de-risks it for many. And that attracts even more cautious investors who now see a prudent way to get involved. So this structured capital inflow, it creates this persistent, powerful demand. And that's directly fueling the price surge we're talking about.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's less about the novelty and more about how these regulated vehicles opening the floodgates to totally new classes of capital.
That's a great way to put it.
It's funny, I remember just a few years back, the idea of a pension fund, even looking at Bitcoin, felt almost like science fiction.
Oh, completely. Times changed.
And now it's a key driver.
Duh.
Okay. But beyond the institutions, our sources also point to a second, equally significant driver: ongoing macroeconomic shifts. Now, that sounds much broader, touching on, the whole global economy.
It is broader, yeah.
Can you maybe demystify that a bit? What kind of macroeconomic shifts are we actually talking about here? And how do they connect to investor behavior and Bitcoin's role today?
Sure. If we connect this to the bigger picture, ongoing macroeconomic shifts are basically those large-scale global economic trends that really influence where investors decide to put their capital.
Okay. Like what, for example?
Well, consider the persistent inflationary pressures we've seen in many major economies over the last few years.
Still feeling those.
Right. It erodes the purchasing power of traditional currencies like the dollar or the euro. So when investors see their savings losing value just sitting in a bank account, they naturally start looking for assets that might act as a hedge or, a reliable store of value.
Something to protect against inflation.
Exactly. And then you also have to layer in things like global geopolitical instability, the resulting uncertainties in traditional markets.
Conflicts, trade issues.
Conflicts, trade disputes, yeah, even significant policy shifts by central banks. Think about changes in interest rates or the scale of quantitative tightening, which is basically the opposite of printing money. It's pulling liquidity out of the system. All of that creates an environment where investors start looking for alternatives, assets that are perceived to be maybe outside the direct control or influence of any single government or central bank.
The decentralization appeal.
Precisely. And Bitcoin, with its decentralized nature, its fixed supply cap, they can't just print more Bitcoin and its relative independence from traditional financial systems. Well, it increasingly fits that profile for a growing number of investors.
The digital gold narrative.
That's the term, yeah. It's often called digital gold because, like physical gold, it's seen by some as a hard asset, it's scarce, and it's potentially resistant to dilution by government policy. So the current climate, this mix of economic uncertainty, the search for inflation hedges, maybe safe havens, these are really compelling forces driving both institutional and retail investors to consider Bitcoin. As our sources explicitly point out, it's becoming a viable part of a diversified portfolio for many.
Okay, wow. So it's this incredibly powerful combination then. You've got the new, easier, regulated ways for the big financial institutions to finally step in, which kind of mainstreams Bitcoin.
Yep, brings it into the fold.
Coupled with these huge global economic currents, inflation, uncertainty pushing investors to actually seek out alternative decentralized stores of value.
It's a potent mix.
It really feels like Bitcoin is catching a dual tailwind here, doesn't it? Propelling it towards this new high.
That's a good way to describe it.
So for you listening, trying to navigate this complex financial world, what's the practical takeaway? How does understanding these two powerful, connected forces actually help you make sense of the market?
Well, I think understanding this provides a crucial aha moment. Bitcoin's surge isn't just some random speculative frenzy, right?
Right. There are reasons.
It's a direct, you could argue, logical response to these fundamental changes we've been talking about. So for you, this means recognizing that the digital asset space, well, it's not just a niche playground anymore. It's deeply integrated into global finance now.
Connected to everything else.
Very much so. And knowing this lets you look beyond just the daily price swings, the volatility, and grasp the underlying structural shifts that are happening.
See the bigger trends.
Exactly. Institutional adoption tells you about increasing market maturity, liquidity, potentially lower volatility over the long run, maybe. While the macroeconomic shifts explain the fundamental demand for assets like Bitcoin, particularly as a hedge against that global uncertainty.
Okay.
So this means if you're tracking your portfolio or even just watching the market news, you're not just looking at crypto headlines anymore. You should also be paying attention to broader indicators,
Like what?
like central bank statements, inflation data releases, even major institutional earnings calls. Listen for clues about their digital asset strategies. It's all connected.
Got it.
So the practical takeaway is that Bitcoin's narrative has really matured. It's gone from being seen as purely speculative to being recognized by many as a potential component of a diversified portfolio, especially when the economic weather gets rough. And that empowers you, hopefully, to better interpret market signals, evaluate potential opportunities or risks, and anticipate how these forces might continue to shape finance in the future. You can approach the space with a more informed, strategic perspective.
That's incredibly insightful. Thank you. So just to distill it all down for everyone,
Yeah.
we've seen Bitcoin make this impressive climb towards that $122,000 mark,
Edging closer?
edging closer. And it's not random. It's being driven fundamentally by the weighty influence of institutional adoption. Big players coming in through new regulated ways, bringing capital and, importantly, legitimacy.
Check.
And this is happening at the same time as these ongoing macroeconomic shifts. Things like inflation worries, global uncertainties are pushing investors, both big and small, to actively seek out alternative stores of value.
This again.
These forces working together, in concert, are undeniably positioning Bitcoin as a clear outperformer in the current market, making its recent climb feel like much more than just a passing headline.
Well summarized. And it leads to a further thought, perhaps.
Oh,
This raises an important question, I think, for you to consider. Given that these drivers seem pretty persistent, the institutional engagement is likely to get more sophisticated, not less, and the macroeconomic shifts aren't vanishing overnight.
good point.
What might be the long-term implications? Not just for Bitcoin, but for the future role of all digital assets in the global economy. And maybe more personally, how might you track these evolving dynamics to stay ahead of the curve in the years to come?
A truly thought-provoking question to leave you with, as always. Excellent point.
Food for thought.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating and clearly rapidly evolving world of Bitcoin's recent surge. We really encourage you to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning about these financial markets.
Yeah.
They certainly keep us on our toes.
They do.
We'll catch you next time.